Hi, Lakshmi.
Hi Latha, how are you?
How are you? How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, or finally after 6 months, I'm getting ready to come to Chennai tomorrow. So
Oh,
my first
superb,
travel in
superb.
6 months in COVID pandemic. We are a little, and I must say this is the trip I'm most nervous about.
Yeah, I can imagine with all those quarantine measures and
Yeah,
all those
yeah.
headaches. Yeah.
God knows how it's going to be in various borders. So and I'm traveling obviously alone and I'm driving. So just
Okay.
we're just
Fingers
having
crossed.
I'm just praying to all the travel gods and the highway gods to kind of ensure that.
No, I think you'll be fine. And lucky for you, the weather's been great in Chennai as well. So I think it's very pleasant with some rain. So you'll enjoy it,
I hope there's
far
sun.
better.
I want sun. I'm tired of the rains in Bangalore.
Oh, no, in Chennai, it's the opposite. We're
No,
dreading the sun.
I don't want the Chennai heat, but I want some
Yeah,
sunshine,
some
basically,
sun.
some
No,
bright
that's fair.
skies, some
Yeah.
blue skies. And I mean, I have only been seeing grey, gloomy, depressed skies in Bangalore. I've been only wearing sweaters and socks the whole day, and I'm like waiting to
Oh.
just, kind of get some warmth in
Okay,
Chennai.
no, I think you'll be in for a good time because
I'm
it's
sure.
not cold. It's the sun and
And
all of that.
rain.
So you're gonna
Yeah.
So you're gonna enjoy the trip. And it rains only in the night a
No,
lot
no,
here, not during the
I'm okay
daytime.
with Chennai rains. Actually, they are, as
Mm.
long as it doesn't become the December Chennai rains, we are fine.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
a little bit of warm blue skies are what I'm looking for. So let's say I'm hoping that that'll happen because it's been like crazy in Bangalore. It's so dark all the time. I can't even look at my own face sometimes unless I switch on the fan light. And
Yeah.
we're walking around with socks, and people are laughing at me. But then I feel cold. When you're
Okay.
born, brought up Chennai, anything below
Yeah, it
25
is.
is like
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah, it
So,
happens.
yeah.
Super. So great to finally chat with you. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but somehow it just never panned out. So it's
I'm
good
so
that I
honored
finally
with
get to.
amongst all your starry-eyed
Oh,
guests that
please.
you have, all the starlets. I mean, I'm just a random traveler on the street. A little
No, but
bit.
in movies are one side, my passion, travel is my other passion. I only have two passions in life, and of course,
That's
food to a certain extent. So, and I love traveling, and you've traveled so much, and you write a lot about travel. So I said, okay, we must talk travel because,
true.
it's something I really, really enjoy.
That's
So I
true.
wanted to, start off with, in the last couple of years, I think Indians have been traveling a lot and to different destinations. It's not just Europe and Singapore and Malaysia, which are the typical, tourist
Yeah,
hotspots.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that everybody goes to. And now they're starting to explore. They're going to Burma. They're going to Vietnam. Different kind of destinations, which don't offer the similar kind of experiences as say a London would or a Paris would. They're very
Absolutely.
different. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I just want to ask you, what are some of the exotic destinations, different destinations that you've been to, and which you would strongly recommend that, Indians should check out?
I don't know about exotic, but I believe every place is exotic in its own way. But definitely,
Hmm.
there are certain destinations, like you said, which are uh, not the usual haunts that Indians go to. I was, for instance, I was in Laos, and in fact, my latest
Ah,
reel is from this beautiful waterfalls in Laos, and I really I felt a little bad that I spent only hardly a handful of days in Laos, but Luang
hmm,
Prabang is beautiful. I mean, it's I know there's a cliche when people say time stops and it's
hmm,
timeless, but that place literally defines that word. You would really feel like, even my husband says, even if they're partying, it's almost like they're wearing earphones and they are like in their own world partying, and
ah,
it's like, it's a zen by itself, and
hmm,
obviously it's and it's got, anything that you go, whether you go on the river, whether you're sitting and having a drink, whether you're going to the Buddhist temples, there's a very beautiful, soft, musical, and lovely quality about Laos and Luang Prabang. Very, very strongly I recommend. You said it. Vietnam is amazing. Again, I spent a very short time in Vietnam, and I really wished I didn't have too much time to explore some of the offbeat and the little destinations that I wanted to go, because that's all the first time, and you always see is you end up seeing 2-3 important sites, and then you take some detours and go. But then the second trip you want to go and just explore only the detours. So Vietnam is one place I would love to go back. Hoi An is again another. I mean, I know people are off late are going there very often, but there is still this extremely pretty charm about Hoi An. And I would definitely recommend Hoi An and Vietnam. The other place I've always wanted to go is South Korea, Taiwan. These are places I haven't been to, but I definitely have heard a lot about it. Japan, despite it being a very popular destination, is very quaint. It's very, very charming, and there are certain pockets in Japan. Especially, I spent almost, I think, about 4 nights in Tokyo and about 2-3 nights in Kyoto. But given a choice, I think I would just base a year in Kyoto and just go off and see charming places. Yeah, Kyoto is so charming, and it's one destination I am really looking forward to see. And also I think when you come to Europe, a lot of people are visiting, of course, the Western Europe, and of course, and now even Scandinavia is becoming very popular. But I went to Bulgaria last year, and it was like it swept me off my feet. I can't tell you how pretty that place is, and it's got, it's got, if you're into history or art history, it's got everything. It's got everything from the ancient Thracians,
and it's very cheap. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt.
absolutely. Yeah. It's very, and people are friendly, and it's very safe. So it's got everything from ancient Thracian era. I mean, like they're contemporary Greeks. To if you go on to looking at places like go on to even the communists, and we even discovered hidden bars which used to function in Sofia, and these don't have address. There's no name board. There is no address. Even now, if you go search for a physical address to these places, it doesn't have these bars, because that's how they used to function during the communist era. And inside there's no power, there's no electricity, it's still dark, it's only with candlelight. And even the locals didn't know, so it was quite an experience going to these places. And so Bulgaria, and of course Croatia has become pretty popular. So that's another gem. Slovenia, another lovely little place. We drove from Italy. Even in Croatia, I know a lot of people go to go to Zagreb, and then they go to Dubrovnik, because that's where the Game of Thrones location is. But
Shah Rukh Khan shot it.
Yeah, Shah Rukh Khan. So he's everywhere. But there's another region called Istria. And in Istria, it's very pretty, because it's all the coastal areas of Istria, and it was essentially a part of Italy, and now part of Croatia, and it has still an Italian. People actually speak 2 languages, and there's one small town there called Hum, Hum. It is apparently the world's smallest town, because it has only some 20 or 28, 29 people. And it is officially declared as the world's smallest town. And it is one of the most charming places I've ever been to. And it has its own patented brandy, which they have created. So, like I said, these are little things about travel that one discovers when you just kind of go off the beaten track. And these are some of the places that comes to my mind, so.
Speaking about Scandinavia, I think Iceland has now become very popular, because people are into the Northern Lights now.
Yeah, I was planning last couple of years, but I haven't been able to go there. But yeah, it's become one of the must-see destinations. But Scandinavia is one place I haven't visited much, except for Denmark. And a little bit of Sweden, but I would love to go to Norway and Iceland and Finland, and that part of it. But again, that's also becoming very popular now as a destination.
But tell me something. While a lot of people tend to take these tours, right? They tend to pick the tours and all. Don't you think, like, because I love making my own itinerary, planning my own travel. Don't you think that's a better way to travel rather than just picking up a
Well,
tour and?
I don't know which is. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, there's a for me, for instance, I don't even make an itinerary. I'm one step further thing. I only plan my flights and I plan my stay, and then I go
Okay.
there and figure out what I want to do. Sometimes I might extend by a couple of days. Sometimes I might stay back. So I only book my flights into and out of India. So I don't even book the in the travel. So if I choose to
Okay.
just do a road trip, I would just do a road trip. Like in Budapest, I was there for just 1 week. We stayed in one Airbnb for 1 week. We didn't go anywhere. We just explored Budapest fully, and then we went every day. We started doing, smaller getaways. In fact, I went to this really pretty place. I can't pronounce it, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But
Okay.
I think it's called Szentendre, if I'm not wrong, but I might be wrong. Okay, but
Okay. In Turkey.
interesting thing, no, in Budapest, in Hungary.
Oh,
But the
in
interesting
Budapest.
thing
Okay.
about this place, Latha, it has a marzipan museum, and
Oh
it
my
is
God. How did
mind-boggling.
I miss it? I went last
They
year.
have
Damn.
created like larger than life sets, movie sets and fairy tale sets, and even there's a lady Diana, if I'm not wrong, or characters like that, historical characters made out of marzipan. It is like
Oh,
one of the most
wow.
delicious museums I've been to. you know so
Ah,
so you you only if you stay long in a place and you let
yes.
yourself be, to answer your question, will you find gems like these? Otherwise, okay, of course you can always go through guidebooks and pick on 100 things, and you can plan your itinerary well. I initially, like everybody else, I also started out, the first trip I went, I think, with my husband to Singapore, Malaysia, we took a typical package tour. But even there, I didn't plan I only planned my flights and my stay, and I decided I'll do my sightseeing there, because I'm not someone who can someone just like a cattle, get up in the morning, get into a bus, let's see this, let's see that, let's see this. I'm not
I
like that.
hate that. I hate that.
Yeah. And I'm very lazy. Like many people, moment they reach a hotel or the place, they like leave things and they just like rush out. I like to sleep, catch up on my jet lag, read a book, wander around my hotel for a while, speak to the local, have a drink, chill for a bit, walk around, go maybe just to the city center, just get a feel, or just walk around the place. So depending on what is there, and then the next day is when I actually start planning my. So like I said, for me, I think I like to do it that way. But I guess a lot of people prefer customized itineraries. A lot of people prefer hotels to help them, because they don't want to take that pressure. They want to chill. They want the vacation. They want someone to take care of it. So I
Yeah.
think each one to himself or herself, and there are some brilliant people who do some amazing customized itineraries and take care of everything. So,
Right.
I think that gives them also the opportunity to do things what they like, and at the same time have some free time to do whatever they are interested in. So, customized itineraries and travel designers are great. And like I said, some people just want someone to take care of everything. They don't want to go there and figure it out. And if that's the case, I think it works well for such people, you know.
But before you travel, are you the kind of person who, researches a lot on the destination, or do you just land up there and then, speak to people and then try and figure it out? Because I'm the kind of person who will do extensive research and talk to people, try find off the beaten path kind of things, and do everything before I actually land up.
No, I
Um,
don't do that. I actually don't like
okay.
doing it, because it
Huh.
kills the joy of travel for me, but that's me personally. So I have a
Okay.
fair idea of what I want to do. So, like for
Okay.
example, again, I'm giving you that example of say if I'm going to Hanoi, okay. So I know that there are these. I have to explore the old quarter, and I have to
Right.
go to this, the Temple of Literature, and
Yeah.
I have maybe four or five things that I want to do. I have to try the egg coffee. So I have these things that I have in my mind that I need to do, and I would have just picked it up based on certain, either reading or just because you're in the travel space, you know these things.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it you go there and figure out. Like we went and figured out, even in the old quarter, which is the best place for where it gets crazy at night, where you can't even like stand. It's like one. I can't even explain to you. If you think India is crowded, you should go there. It was like that. So there are little things that you learn and you kind of figure out when you travel. So I keep that. I keep that
Okay.
thing for myself. And a
Right.
lot of itineraries are fluid. I just choose
Yeah.
not to do this today, or I just choose to do
Yeah.
that tomorrow. So that kind of a thing.
Yeah. The one thing which I definitely do, which I'm similar to you, I guess, in that way, is that I know the major things that I want to see, but I never book anything beforehand online. I land up there, and one thing which I love doing is I love walking around.
Yeah.
I love exploring places, and I walk. I walk a lot. Do you think that's a great way to discover a city rather than just getting
Absolutely.
onto a tour bus?
Absolutely. The walking is the best way to do it. And now there are like really good walking tours also. I've done a few walking tours. There are some free walking tours, of course, every city has.
Yeah.
And some even have these very interesting walking tours that are off the beaten track or different topics, for instance. Like I remember when I was in London, I did this whole walking tour on Charles Dickens's London. Charles Dickens's and
I've
Shakespeare's
done, yeah.
London. Yeah. So it
Yeah,
was
okay,
only
yeah.
taking you through the places that Dickens would have been and he would have
Hmm.
created his thing. And also monuments would have been around in the 16th century when Shakespeare was there.
Right.
So it was a very interesting one. And then I did a walking tour on my own without a guide,
Hmm.
which was
Hmm.
going through the old Fleet Street where all the
Hmm.
old pubs were, which used to be
Right.
hangouts of authors. And, like you have these pubs like Old Cheshire Cheese. And then there are these places they said, Rudyard Kipling was here or Dickens was there and so was
Yeah.
sitting here and all of that. And there even the furniture is as it was from the 16th, 17th,
Then,
18th centuries. So
yeah.
those kind of places, I kind of do these tours. Sometimes I do these night walks, which take you to
Hmm.
fascinating haunted trails. So it depends. Sometimes I like to do my own stuff. Sometimes I like to go with a group. If
Hmm.
it's a walking tour, only
Hmm.
walking tour mostly,
Okay.
and get a sense of it. Um, and it's fun. It's fun to explore. Sometimes even a hop on hop off is fun, because what
Hmm.
happens with a hop on hop off is sometimes if you have a card and if you're free, it helps you to get oriented to the place better. So for me,
Hmm.
what I do is when I get into a hop on hop off, I kind of get a sense of, okay, so so I will know which places I want to see, but I still don't know the geography. I don't know how to get there. So let's say the
Hmm.
metros are not very great. So these help me get a sense of the place. And then I plan my trip about where I want to go and what I don't want to go. But I don't do hop on hop off too much. It's only when I have
Hmm.
like really short time in a place and I want to just quickly make a decision on what I want to see. And otherwise I just do these walks and it's fun to do it. Or I love the
Yeah.
metros in a place. So,
Yeah. But the metros, like you said, in certain countries are wow, and in certain countries are avoidable. I think
it's
it's like,
scary.
yeah, because, there's nobody there. And I experienced that in Budapest. Like, I'm the only one in that underground station, and I'm like freaking out over there. But I think it's,
I think Budapest, don't think I took the metro. I think most of Budapest, I either took the tram or I just
or
kind of
the,
walked. Yeah, and I also,
yeah,
the trams are much safer, and uh,
safer,
and and
yeah.
and then of course I walked a lot. And since we were close to, I think we were in Pest,
Hmm.
so we just had to keep walking around, and it was fun.
It
So
was fun. So another thing I also wanted to ask you was the numerous countries that you visited. Give some examples of what is the best time of the year to visit certain places? Because, while everybody goes out during the summer holidays, it's not necessarily the greatest time to visit certain places.
see, we also have to understand summer in Europe is not summer in India.
Yes.
Okay, and that's one thing. And summer in Europe is usually late. It actually starts with July, August, September. And most
Mm.
Europeans actually tell you don't come because for them that is the peak of Europeans traveling. So like
Yeah.
you would find a lot of people all the time. And also in
Mm.
some destinations, summer can get really hot. Like Spain can be extremely hot. So many places, summer can be very hot. I usually plan my trip just at the fringe. So, for example, I would like to go just when spring ends and summer begins, or just when summer ends and autumn begins. I'm not so
Right.
much a winter traveler, so
Okay.
though I do only if I want to see like Northern Lights or something, I do winter. Otherwise, if it's Europe, for instance, I like to cater. I'd like to plan my trip like that. Same thing in India. I try to do a lot of off-season travel. I do a lot of winter travel in India because it's much more easier to go to a lot of places that I want to see. And also, I think doing off-season travel is very good for budgets because it's cheaper. You get the destination to yourself, and a lot of time you're able to. So, like for example, if you're planning to go in June, for instance, okay, it's Indians are not traveling at that time, and Europeans are also not traveling at that time in Europe. So it's a great
Okay.
time to kind of go in June.
Hmm.
So you will figure out the places based on that, and also I think Asia. Mostly there are only two kinds of season. There is either the wet season or the dry season. So it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to go during the peak wet season unless you enjoy monsoon. I'm not a monsoon person, so
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Cambodia and get stuck in the wet season, or
Yeah.
Vietnam for that matter. So I generally plan again, like I said, just when the wet season ends and the dry season begins, or just as the dry season ends and the wet season is going to begin, so that you don't get too much rain and you're able to manage the whole thing.
Right.
So I see a lot of questions from the audience, and I saw a lot of people just want to just say hello to them, or you want to do that later?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So there is. I saw Nivedit says hi, and earlier I think there was Captain Karimullah who says Japan, Hokkaido, and he's giving his. He says Taiwan is amazing. He also says in Vietnam, Hue and Mok Chau is amazing. Have you been to Hue and Mok Chau? I haven't been to either of them,
No, I
unfortunately.
haven't been to Vietnam yet.
Oh, you must
I was
go.
planning this year and everything went
I was planning
kaput. So,
Russia this year, and it's like
oh,
rushed all went. So
yeah.
Japan is my
Somebody's
dream
asking,
destination.
somebody's asking when is the best, I mean, which is the best country to see the Northern Lights?
I haven't seen, so I don't know. But I think people say Norway, Iceland, also Finland,
Finland,
and
yeah.
then Alaska apparently is also a great place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are some of the destinations I've told is very good. Finland and Sweden, even Lapland is
Lapland,
also
yeah.
very good. Yeah, Swedish
Yeah.
Lapland, all of that.
Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
guys want to meet Santa Claus also, you can head out there.
Yeah. In fact, Finland was doing a lot of promotion earlier, so
Mm.
So,
So,
then there's someone else who had asked, did travel turn you into a storyteller, or was it storyteller that prompted you to travel? I don't know, honestly. That's like that's like the chicken and the egg question. I think I was
yeah.
always a writer and I was always a traveler. So I think my mother always said I had like wheels under my feet, and I always had this vivid imagination, and I would spin stories, talk to random strangers, I would just vanish. I had this crazy curiosity. So, and I was like a chatterbox as a kid. So my nickname was
Oh,
YD. So, in
oh,
Tamil, talk,
yeah.
talk, 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 talk. So I think it was they all came together.
Okay. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about also, Lakshmi, is about food. You know, I'm a vegetarian, but
Me too.
I don't crave Indian food. You know, I'm not one of those people who's like, give me dal chawal and rotis and so I can make do with a lot of Western stuff, salads and pies and soups and whatever. But I love exploring the local cuisine. Do you enjoy that too? And what are some
Well,
of the...
to be honest, I'm not too much of a foodie. I'm a vegetarian too. I can
Okay,
go with any vegetarian food I get, as long
okay.
as it's because as long as it's tasty and it's hygienic. And I do have street food, but like there are obviously I'm scared to try street food in Vietnam. So my hostess, and she was adorable. So she
Okay.
made and she brought amazing vegetarian. Local food for me to try, because she knew that I was a little wary of going into those markets and trying them. I can
Ah.
go into markets to photograph, but I'm a little scared to eat from the market. But there are but obviously places like Europe and other places, street food is pretty safe. It's only in Asia that I'm a little
Yeah.
worried sometimes. But I'm okay with anything. In fact, vegan is pretty big overseas.
Right now.
And even
Yeah.
in Poland, I had some very delicious. First time I went to Poland in I think 2012, and there was nothing available. Nothing. When I mean nothing, even for a vegetarian, there was like really no choices. But thankfully, I survived on French fries and boiled potatoes. But now there's so much. And although I don't crave Indian food, I like to check out some of the Indian restaurants in some of the places I visited. Case in point being, I'll tell you, in Kyoto, I heard about this place, which they said was Indian food, and they said it's run by a Japanese. So I was very fascinated, and I went. Okay. This guy, it was like a hole in the wall shop. Okay, very little, barely like 3 tables, and he was Japanese. And you know what all I ate there? I ate more kwambu. I
Oh
ate
my
kira
God.
masiyal. Okay. I ate that. Since you're a Tamilian, you'll understand.
Yeah.
I was surprised because I can imagine somebody even cooking up a dosa, or like you said, dal chawal or roti sabzi or whatever. But to get not even sambar, but more kwambu was like I mean, this. And he actually said kira, masyal, and some poriyal. And I'm like, how did you even know these words?
Yeah.
So he had a very fascinating story. So he said he loves Indian food, that every year he shuts down his restaurant and comes to India and lives with people in different parts. And he's very fond of South Indian, though he also has some Gujarati and he has some Punjabi food and some other cuisines from India too. But he's very fond of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So he actually lives with people and he's got these references, stays in their homes and learns from them.
Wow.
And it was like, so I'm saying sometimes the stories that you kind of of course, there are others where you'll find Bangladeshis who will say they're Indian food as well. That's the other side of the story. But in Poland, for instance, I was telling you how there was nothing available. This time when I went, Indian food is like fancy for them. Locals love Indian food because it's delicious. So there are so many restaurants which have opened. And some of these restaurants were very high-end premium restaurants, heart of the city center, very cool. You have to wait for tables, and you can't like typically people think, okay, Indian restaurants means some takeaway will be there, or I'll get tables and it'll have one Taj Mahal out there and one Ganesha out here. But this was like very nicely, these restaurants are very nicely decorated. So I find Indian restaurants also coming of age, and Indian food also coming of age in a lot of these places. By even in Luang Prabang, I found a Madras restaurant or something like that.
Okay.
So sometimes it's also part of my discovery when I find these Indian restaurants, because they all have a story to tell. I'll go and ask them, how did they come here? When did they live? Are they first generation, second generation? And I get a lot of interesting stories. So I find so I can eat anything. I can like local food as long as it's vegetarian. I can eat. But I find some Indian restaurants having a lot of backstories and fascinating stories.
Okay. So somebody is asking about, couch surfing and websites like that. So do you do a lot of Airbnb and stuff like that? What is your...
I do mostly Airbnbs, and I also do a lot of booking.com and bed and breakfast, regular bed and breakfast. I have not done too much couch surfing because I've heard two sides of the same story. Like some people have had great experiences and some have not. In fact, I met one Madras girl during one of my solo trips in Bruges, in Brussels. And she was telling me that she actually had to change in the middle of the night because she didn't feel safe with one of her hosts. I like Airbnbs where I have my own space. I take over the entire apartments or the entire houses. And Airbnbs, mostly if you go with the super hosts or people so far Airbnbs and bed and breakfast. I've also stayed in a lot of boutique hotels, like where they have 5 rooms and 6 rooms, and the host is always there. And if in Europe, they're very charming and very sweet, and they give you a lot of ideas of places to go to, things to do. They tell you a lot of backstories. So I kind of like those because there's also a human presence there, and so it gives you the comfort of an Airbnb, but it also gives you a little bit of a hotel. So there's also these places like Citadines, which I've done a campaign
Yeah.
with. They are like apart hotels, so they give you a
Yeah.
mix of apartment and a hotel feel together. So there are
Hmm.
many such hybrid options, and they are fun. Yeah, I think choosing an accommodation is very much a part of your travel experience. So it's very
Hmm.
important that you get the right place, you know.
Right. But you know, Japan, I was just thinking because I've been wanting to go to Japan, but Japan is quite expensive, isn't it? When you look at, you know, even if it's hotels and so on and so forth, it's
Yeah,
not
but there
as.
are a lot of the yeah, it is definitely more expensive than traveling to Europe. So Europe, I
Hmm.
would say. But
Yeah.
but there are Airbnbs there too, and I stayed in a very safe Airbnb, except that it was tiny, tiny is
Yeah,
like
they're
an
very
understatement.
small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was enough for two people. Like me and my husband
Hmm.
went, and it was just
Hmm.
about fine, you know.
Hmm.
And I love their loos also. They have even instructions on the pot, and it tells you how
Yeah.
to warm it up and which
Yeah.
button to press to which where the what to press and how to flush. And they're very funny, but it's very, like I said, it's an experience in itself. And I've also stayed in a few boutique hotels there, some Zen
Okay.
hotels, and and they also
Hmm.
have those old world charm kind of beds, wooden beds and flat
Hmm.
beds and things like that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
Japan has options, but like I said, it is even the cheapest one will be a little expensive,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's worth it in the long run because as a country, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the experience you can't get it anywhere else.
Right. You know, speaking about India, you've traveled quite a bit across India as well, right? What are some of the quaint destinations you've found here? Not the typical touristy places, you know, that people want to go hang out at, like Darjeeling or Missouri and so on. I mean, there's so many, like Northeast India, I think is very unexplored. A lot of people still don't, you know, plan holidays there, but though it's supposed to be gorgeous. I mean, I haven't been there, but
I went there a while ago. I think, in fact, I think we were one of the. I was on early in my early travels. I'd gone. We drove down. In fact, my husband and I
oh,
keep
yeah.
wondering what came over us. But more than 12, 13 years ago, 2007, if I'm not wrong, we drove
Huh.
all the way from Tejpur in Assam to Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh in peak winter.
Okay.
Because
Oh
something
God.
came, I suddenly thought I should spend Arunachal Pradesh in snow. And it was my birthday, and I wanted to go to some off-beat place, and I went to Tawang, and it was like freezing. And my husband is like, "No, we are not doing any more of these trips just for your fancies, you know."
Yeah.
So Sikkim also, I went in 2005, 2006, very early.
Hmm.
But I think in your own backyard there are beautiful places. Yeah, you don't even have to go all that far to Northeast. I mean, I'm not saying
Hmm.
Northeast is not. It is amazing, but
Hmm.
places like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they are such amazing places. And like the Western Ghats is such a treasure house of places.
Hmm.
Like if you go to Ganeshgudi or Dandeli or even
Hmm.
Goa has some really
Hmm.
interesting. When I went to Tamdi Surla many years ago to do some bird watching, nobody was there. It's like one middle of nowhere kind of a place. And
Okay.
I've done a lot of extensive rustic travel in Karnataka. We've
Hmm.
done a lot of because we went looking for 30 Hoysala temples. Tamil Nadu,
Oh,
in fact, my family comes from Tirunelveli, so I've been
okay.
wanting to go down south and see a lot of places there,
Hmm.
which I haven't. They're hardly seen even like 5% or 10% of those places. And
Hmm.
there are many quaint, many charming destinations. And each time you travel, you stumble on something. Like recently, I remember we went to Sakleshpur, and we've gone like
Okay.
dime a dozen times to Sakleshpur. I've been going there since I was a baby, in fact, because my grandfather
Huh.
had coffee pits there. And the thing is, this time I stumbled upon a village called Narve. Okay, and I was
Okay.
joking that somebody was talking about Scandinavia, and I said, "Look, I discovered a bit of Scandinavia in Malnad." And
Huh.
Norway had like these really old, amazing houses, like
Hmm.
really old Malnad style houses, And we met the family, and they allowed me to take pictures and spend some time in the thing. And it was interesting to listen to those people, their stories, eat some local food there, and see these really, really quaint architecture. Agumbe is another place, because obviously now it's becoming very popular because of this, a lot of wildlifers go, and the Tithali, that part. So I think there's a lot and to discover. Recently, I've got fascinated with Andhra. I did a little bit of travel to Vijayawada, and though we visited some of the touristy places, I realized there's so much more to see there. They of course have to work a little more on their infrastructure. Arch Valley is a gem, for instance. Bora Caves is of course messed up big time by putting all those jack lights. So it's like going into a film set, and there are like these lights going on, and typically there's music and dance and all of that. But India is India. I think they're very. It's great. It's an adventure literally to travel in India. You never know what you're going to discover next. So So Odisha is another lovely place.
Yes. Odisha is, I believe. My friends were living there for some time, but I couldn't make it. But the only thing is, like I do, most of my trips are solo trips. But in India, to travel as a solo woman, I still have a lot of hesitancy. Metros is okay, but going into the interiors on my own, I kind of still am very wary of that.
I think you need to obviously have some kind of a good driver, or some kind of a good, like if you're staying in a good hotel, or in a good, or if you're staying with a host or hostess in a place like, say, Jaipur, for example. I'm just saying a name. So they would obviously help you get a good driver, or they'll help you get a good contact. And you can keep that as a base and go to the closest place and come back. Yeah, I mean, there are places even I feel sometimes a little, I won't say I'm scared, but I feel a little unnerved about going. So I preferred going with, I prefer going to some of these places. But I think India is very safe. It's not unsafe or rather, let me put it this way. It's safe or unsafe like any other place in the world. Okay. It's just that we are conditioned to feel a little uncomfortable in some places. And I think if you have your wits about you, if you have a good driver around, if you can, like I have driven like across Gujarat alone with a driver, or even Rajasthan. Like we drive like crazy stretches of Rajasthan. I've driven. In fact, I had this really. I'll tell you this experience. I was traveling to Udaipur, and I was on an assignment with Rajasthan Tourism, and I was supposed to go to I think to Ranakpur, from Udaipur, to cover some festival there, and so my typical Air India lost my luggage. Okay.
Oh God.
And I didn't have any clothes. I didn't have anything. So I finally, and I had to be in Ranakpur the next day. So I went, my driver came and picked me up, and I told him, look, let's just go to the closest shop somewhere. I'll just Fab India or somewhere. I'll just pick up some clothes and something for tomorrow. So then I called up Air India, and they said that they'll try and send the luggage the next day night. Okay. So next day evening. The same flight next day evening. And that day morning, I had to be in Ranakpur. So this driver dropped me to Ranakpur the next day morning, came back to Udaipur, picked up my luggage from the airport, took a picture, WhatsApped it to me and said, is this the right one, ma'am? Came back. And he was with me throughout the trip. He was with me. We went to Mount Abu. We went to quite a few places in and around Udaipur. But very, very dignified and very, very responsible. So sometimes you do get some really good guys. Sometimes it's just bad luck. You just have to be careful. That's all, I guess. So I think Aru just says the same thing. She says our country is quite safe. Somebody is very upset. He says we don't read any user's comment.
Jayesh, I saw that, but I don't know what he commented. I'm not able to figure that out.
He says so there is in Nagaland there's a valley which is very beautiful. Okay, I
Zoo
haven't been to Nagaland, and I do hope I can come there. next time when when COVID kind of when it's safe for all of us to travel,
Yeah.
So yeah. So
So, how many trips do you typically plan a year? I mean, is it like whenever you feel like it, you take off on holiday, and and how do you choose your destinations?
So
Uh, you
now,
know,
off late, obviously I was traveling once a month, and some are invitations, and some are work trips, and then some are
hmm,
personal holidays. But
hmm.
now I think, at least pre-COVID times, everything was a work travel. So I actually was
Yeah.
telling somebody the other day, for me, travel is work. So I actually look at it as as an entrepreneur. So I start basically with a travel budget more than the destinations. I plan my budget, and I tell myself. So I have like a quarter to quarter review on how much I
Oh,
can afford. so so obviously if I have a little more campaigns coming my way, and if I have good thing, then I would increase my budget, or I would say,
right.
okay, I will do with the current budget, I would do 2 international trips, or I
Hmm,
would say I'll only do one international and one India trip. So
hmm,
it I plan so I plan obviously a budget, and then I plan a list of destinations I want, keeping in mind not just my personal interest in travel, but also in terms of the content that I want to create. So
right.
because that becomes important as well, and
Hmm,
some amount of travel comes because, like I said, you get invitations, and you have brands, and you have fam trips and all of that. So that
hmm,
is there. Then I
hmm.
balance it out based on how much I can afford, what kind of work I'm getting, what kind of content I can create there.
Right.
And I'm not a digital nomad. I like to come home, and I want my pillow, and I want my bed, and I want my so I like to, when I'm in my travel mode, I'm in my travel mode, and I switch off from everything, even sometimes social media, unless it's mandatory. I don't even post on social.
Hmm,
But I prefer to, I just get immersed in my travels, and then I
right.
come back and I figure out my life and everything else. So
Okay.
I like to space out my trips. So if, like I said, I would spend like a week in Budapest, or if I'm doing
Hmm,
like a road trip and I want to do 3 places, I'd like to probably do 4 or 5 days more in each place. So
hmm.
and if I have just 10 days, sometimes I travel a lot with my husband these days. So and
Hmm.
he'll say, I have only a week. Now you do what you want. So if I have only a
Hmm.
week, then we'll only do to 1 or 2 places max. I don't think we can do too
Yeah,
many of them. So yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm hoping that, 2021 travel comes back to normal, and, keeping my fingers crossed. So what would be your five picks, travel destinations for 2021? Five picks of yours that,
See, I'm not thinking international at this point of time because I really can't
yeah,
judge
it
what's
can
going to
be
happen in
anything.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So right now I'm not even thinking abroad. Although I'd
Hmm,
love to think abroad, but I don't want to mislead anybody and get into it. I think
yeah.
India is what I would focus on in
Hmm,
2021. I'll
hmm.
start with my own backyard. I'll go back to
Okay.
looking at places that I want. I want to get back to birding in a very big way. I haven't done birding and wildlife travel in like for a very long time. There was
Okay.
like birding stories, only like exclusive stuff. So I'd like to go back to
Hmm.
that. So I'd like to see, and I would focus mostly on South. And then I want to
Okay.
travel to West Bengal. I haven't been to West Bengal at all.
Ah,
So that is one
okay.
destination that's been like, teasing me, I would say. So I would like to go to West Bengal. I'd like to go back to Rajasthan. I always find Rajasthan has so many stories to tell me, and I find
Hmm.
Rajasthan like it. There's some charm about Rajasthan. It just keeps calling me again and again. So I think Rajasthan would be one place. I would maybe go to Northeast because I haven't been to Northeast again in a
Okay.
long time. So I would definitely go to Shillong or Mega. I want to go to those
Hmm.
areas. And then I haven't really planned anything else. Maybe Madhya Pradesh. I need to see wildlife. I haven't
Ah,
gone, like
yeah.
I said, Madhya Pradesh. Though I'm not too much of a tiger person, but I
Hmm.
really think I want to get into doing some wildlife travel. So Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra for wildlife and stuff like that I want to do.
Yeah.
But I think more than destinations, Latha, I'm just just want to travel. Yeah, I'm just getting bored of this
Yeah.
like they say the journey is a destination. No, I just
Yeah.
like I keep telling in all the things. I think that we are all locked drowned in our head that we just want
Yeah.
to get out and see open spaces. We want to see
Yeah.
beaches. We want to be in
Yeah.
mountains. We want to be in valleys. We want to be in villages. I just want to like sit in Coorg and read a book. It doesn't matter the place where I'm going. It's just that I want to just. You feel like literally trapped in your head and in the boundaries that we've created for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I know and I also think it's obviously not safe to go out and on like I'll tell you a homestay owner himself told me recently that while Karnataka given the go ahead for a lot of homestays to open, he said I'm not allowing more than 2 rooms out of my 6 rooms because more than anything, he said my own parents, my grandparents, I mean, I'm responsible for their health also. So it's not just about business. So I think that balance we all have to maintain because it's our health, it's our family's health, it's the place that we are going, their health. So every time I think we need to think I think there's a constant overthinking that will happen. But I think this is what I'll do. I'll probably start with staycations, So
Yeah. Well, I think your first trip, of course, is to Chennai, so that
yeah, first
starts
trip at
off.
home. So I'm going to be home
Yeah.
quarantined. Not
Yeah. So that's also going to be a staycation of sorts for you, I guess.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So
What
is
about
there,
you? Where are you
huh.
planning?
Well, I don't know. We see because last year I mean, I'd been to Italy before, but I went back because I really missed it. So I went for about nearly 5 weeks. I went to Turkey, Italy, and Greece. And I love going to all the islands, and because Athens wasn't fascinating for me at all. I mean, it was like, okay,
Yeah.
you see all the
Monuments.
historical sites, but then that's it. But I just loved going into the smaller places and the little villages, and I mean that
Yeah,
was
I
amazing.
think,
But
yeah.
Italy for me is like one of my favorite destinations. I mean, it's like there's just so much, and the food is so good, and the
Yeah.
wine, and
You'll never go.
it's
Yeah. And for vegetarians like us, they will never run out of choices.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like I just loved Italy, and
I
I'd love to
definitely
go
want to
back.
go back. We were planning to do Greece and Russia this year.
Hmm.
But I think when it's safe to travel overseas, I think we'll do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm looking forward to Japan and South Korea. That's for me, it's
Yeah.
like, that's definitely during the cherry blossom season. And because I know friends who've been there, I want to be there at that time, April, just to see that. And then the other thing is, I don't like staying in the city so much. I like getting away into the interiors and just going around. And I think that makes it so
I
much
kind of
fun.
like both. I used to be like you, only look at interiors and countryside. But then
Hmm.
off late, I started loving cities. I love the
Hmm.
energy. I love the vibe. I love the quirks. I love the street food. I like the like in Tokyo has some really quirky stuff. They have some really quirky cafes. They have
Yeah.
like maid cafes, for instance,
And the
and
cat cafes.
yeah, the cat cafes, owl cafes,
Yeah.
and they're very funny there. And,
Hmm.
and I started realizing that I enjoy these street art, for instance. Like Berlin had a
Hmm.
very different vibe when you start going beyond the historical Berlin. And we did an entire series on alternative Berlin, which had all
Hmm.
this graffiti and street art. Like there was a
Yeah.
character used to be called Mr. Six. Okay, and
Okay.
he would only paint sixes everywhere, and
Oh,
he's a graffiti artist, and graffiti
okay.
artists there are given like some they're considered like they are some superheroes, and
Yeah.
they're all like really creative. So there are many things like in Trieste. We're talking about Italy, right? Trieste, for
Yeah. Hmm.
instance, I realized that they have their own coffee lingo. So you don't go and ask
Oh.
for a cappuccino, you ask for their version of a cappuccino.
Oh.
And their coffee houses go back to the Hungarian Austrian era. So
Hmm.
I found that there are a lot of cities, big or
Hmm.
small, have a lot of quirks and a lot of offbeat stuff. And
Hmm.
like Budapest, for instance, like it had its own charm, and Buddha and Pest, and then all
Yeah.
those ruin bars. The ruin
Yeah.
bars are are like they're like a world by themselves. And then these of course these water, the baths. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I do like cities, but I also love these random places, like I told you,
Random.
going and checking out museums made out of marzipan. So yeah, sentient world. I think that's the name of the place. Yeah.
Oh, super. Does anybody have any questions for
Yeah, someone
Lakshmi?
says,
I
how
don't
do I
see
see
anything.
traveling after this pandemic? I mean, the changes that would
Okay.
be to enjoy the same. I think that's what we were just talking. I just said that a lot of people would want to travel in India, want to do
Hmm.
staycations. They would take international travel will be later, and people will travel in their own city and their own region to begin with, their own state and maybe
Yeah.
the neighboring states. And they also want to, I think more than going to see places, I think the whole idea would just be first to go, like go and
Yeah.
lose yourself in villages, beaches,
Hmm.
and those kind of places. So yeah, Nivedit says cat cafe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they tried the dog cafe version in Chennai or somewhere where you could bring your dogs, but then, people are generally scared. See, that's one thing which I love about Europe. You can just take your dog, your pet to the, cafe or bar, right? In India, you can't do that because our dogs, somehow, some of them tend to be a little aggressive and you don't know what ticks them off.
Yeah. No, I think
Uh,
they're
Somebody's asking
trained
you
for
about
that.
travel blogging,
Yeah. How do
Lakshmi.
you expect travel blogging to evolve in the next 1 year? Well, it's already evolving. I think a lot of people are reading blogs now because everybody is
Hmm.
now an armchair traveler and they're planning their
Yeah.
virtual travel through it. I think blogging is the best thing to do now because there's a lot of. I also initially didn't have the mood to write and I was feeling very blah. And then I started only in the last 2 months. And I'm very surprised to see the numbers are back and people are reading a lot. You just have to write about places that people are interested in, maybe tweak your content a little bit, and maybe even reorient your SEO towards it. So, but definitely blogging is back. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a blogger. I see it happening not just in travel blogging, but even in food blogging and many other forms of blogging for that matter.
I think the lockdown has initiated a lot of, reinitiated a lot of things, activities in terms of, like, if people are stuck to OTT, they're not just consuming entertainment, they're also looking at documentaries. They're looking at a lot of different types of content, the
Absolutely.
food
Yeah.
shows and so on. So,
I think a
I
lot of
think,
people have time now, and you obviously need to divert your mind from the pandemic. So a lot of people are doing this. Madhu says, how many countries? I really have
yeah.
no count. Yeah, I don't count. Maybe around 45, 50. Could be more, could be less. But
Yeah.
frankly, I have no clue. I just stopped counting, and I don't really have this count because I don't think travel is about numbers. It's about experiences.
Okay, so
Yeah.
how many passports have you updated? That'll help.
I have 4 passport. I got it new in
Yeah.
November, and I'm yet to debut on it. So
Okay. That's gonna happen soon, don't worry.
I'm still hoping. Yeah.
Yeah. Super. Any other questions, guys, for Lakshmi?
Someone says my
Because
advice for people in the pandemic. I mean, what
hmm,
kind of advice? Just stay safe. All of us stay safe. Keep our head above water, and
yeah.
just how
How
many
many
languages
language?
do I know? Since
Hmm,
I'm not too much of a language person. In India, I know about 3, 4 languages. Abroad, maybe just English. I think I need to learn French or Spanish. I
hmm,
tried learning Japanese when I was in college. I
hmm.
can speak a smattering of words, not sentences, also. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah, but English somehow I manage with English, I guess. So
Okay. Super. Somebody saying hi to you.
yeah, Jyoti says hi. Hi, Jyoti. So.
So, are you all packed for tomorrow?
No, I'm not even started. I don't even know what to pack. I know I just need a hand sanitizer and I've kept that first. So,
How long did you take to establish yourself as a travel blogger?
well, I think it's very relative. In my case, I started blogging very, very early, which was in 2005. So,
Hmm.
I've been blogging for many years now.
Yeah.
But there are people who are, who become pretty, establish themselves very quickly in, less than a couple of years or 2, 3 years is good as long as they're consistent. Some are even doing well in a year.
Hmm.
Which is have to be consistent. I think that's the key. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Okay, so I must tell you guys, I don't know if you know, but Lakshmi also does Insta Lives every Wednesday. What's it called, Lakshmi?
Travel with Lakshmi and storytelling with Lakshmi, I just call it. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
So you guys should tune into that every Wednesday, other than, of course, reading her blog. So,
yeah, storytelling with Lakshmi. I just tell a story, I share a story, backstories, just little tips on storytelling. Also been doing a few workshops on blogging and traveling and storytelling. So if you know, so just
yeah,
keeping
you guys should check those out. Tips for mom travel blogger.
well. I'm. I think that's good. That's a topic by itself. But yeah, but I think it'll be interesting to know how your baby enjoys the travel. You know, so what would be your packing
But it's
trips, kind of
but it's
destinations
tough
that are
with babies.
yeah,
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
and how do you engage children? What are their interests? Depending on your age of your kid, what kind of interests they are in. The kind of content should focus more on how to's and safeties and activities for kids, and you know that kind of content I think would work when you're doing travel blogging. I don't have children, so I'm a little lost there, to be honest. So.
But do you have pets? I forgot to ask you.
I had
Okay.
birds. I rescued a
Oh.
couple of birds and they flew away. And
Oh.
but
But that's
we've
good. I
been
mean,
busy. Yeah, but
if
we've been
they're like
working.
free and
Yeah, but these birds unfortunately are exotic, and we rescued them. So one could
oh,
and pray that they'll be safe because uh, they kind of can't survive, and it's very sad the way the bird trade is. So you know, so
oh,
it's that is a problem. And I we fostered a kitten which we kind of which rescued. It was hiding inside the bonnet of our car, so we called him Bonnet Boy. And he's quite a handful, but because I have to come to Chennai, so I decided to
eh,
my neighbor upstairs, they have adopted him. They already have a cat, and I go every week and
oh,
play with him.
sweet.
Yeah, he's a rascal. He's a little rascal, he is, and he's very adorable. And we also have adopted a few street dogs.
Okay,
And
that's good.
pups. They're pups. They came to the park when
Yeah.
they were like about a month old, and so they're about 4 or 5 months old. So we kind of take care of them, feed them,
Yeah.
and get them neutered and manage them and all of that. So we are
Yeah.
a small group that, and all of us, there are about 4 of them now with their adopted foster mother. So
Okay.
and those 3 are also completely nutcases. So I find indies very very cute.
Cute. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I will when maybe after all my Chennai trips over, when the COVID is so sorted a bit, because I need to have time to kind of you know. So
Lakshmi, we have 45 seconds remaining before the
okay, then
light
I
gets
think
cut.
yeah.
So
So
we have
someone's
to
asking
wrap it up.
places visited in Tamil Nadu. I think they can just ask me questions on my Insta
Yeah.
separately, and I can
So,
answer.
guys, please follow Lakshmi and, of course, reach out to her. She's doing her lives on Wednesdays and she also blogs. Any questions you want to ask her, please go ahead and ask her on her Insta. And thank you so much, Lakshmi, for joining me in this engaging
Thank you, Latha. I
conversation. It
mean,
was such good fun. And
yeah.
hopefully, we shall meet when times are better and things are normal.
And we travel
So,
together. I know you
yes,
do, but yeah, we should travel together. Okay.
superb, done. Okay, take
Thank
care.
you so much
Bye.
for having me. Bye.